Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So today we are starting a new chapter, cell, the unit of life. So let's do first introduction of this chapter. A cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of all living organism. So cell is fundamental unit, structural unit and the functional unit of almost all living organism. Okay. So no matter what, which organism, everyone are made up of cells. So here as you can see in the diagram that this is a single cell and these are all different types of organism. So the common thing between all these organism is that they all are made up of these tiny fundamental unit called as cell. So in our earth we see different kind of organisms. So one like bacteria, human beings, plants and many more organisms we see, right? And there is no common thing between all of us. You can't compare a human to the plant, you can't compare plant to the bacteria. But the thing that's similar, you will all say that they all are living, but it's not a similar thing. The similar thing is that they all are made up of this fundamental unit called as cell. So no matter which type of bacteria, no matter which type of living form it is, how complex it may be, but this basic is that they all are made up of cells. So as you can see in the diagram that you see tree, you see some insects laying like substance, squirrels, frogs, parrots, animal kinds, insects, butterflies and mushrooms, bacteria, lizards, bacteria like snakes, monkeys, flowers, these all are made up of the living unit called as cell. So this cell is very important, right? So we must also learn. Okay, now let's go forward. Okay, sorry. Now we'll learn about the discovery of cell. So who discovered the cell? So the first person to discover the cell was Robert Hooke. He was the first person to absorb the cell, but to be more precise, he absorbed non-living cells. Non-living cells. So it will be more precise to say that Robert Hooke discovered non-living cells. He also coined the term cell. Okay. Now, so this is the cork piece that he absorbed under the microscope and he discovered the cell. Wait, I'll use another color. Okay, this will be right. So this is the cork piece. Cork means it's the bark of the tree. He took a small piece of the bark of a tree and he absorbed in a microscope. So he absorbed these tiny compartment like structure. I'll zoom and show for you. So like this he absorbed some structures. Okay, this he coined the term as cell, but these were non-living. Okay, so now you can see tiny compartments like structure, right? They have their own compartments. Okay, like this they have structure. So this is nothing but the cell wall which separates one cell from the another. With this we'll learn in more detail, but now I'm just giving the introduction. Okay, done. Cork cells discovered by the Hooke. Next, come to the next scientist. So the next scientist name is Antony von Lavoisier. So what he did, he first discovered a living cell. So he was the first person to absorb a living cell. Okay, so the first person, his name is Robert Hooke. What he absorbed, he absorbed non-living cells and also coined the term cell. But next person is Antony von Lavoisier. So he discovered the first living cell. Okay. Okay, next we'll go into the detail. Now what it is written is the invention of compound electronic microscopes revealed the structural detail of the cell. So what they are saying is now they only discovered cell. Now they only discovered a cell. There was something, a thing called as cell, and they only discovered this much. They didn't go exceeded, okay. But later on, these new types of microscopes were invented. The electronical microscopes, the compound microscopes, different microscopes were invented, which could even more zoom into the structure. So for example, take an example. Now I'm able to only zoom this much, okay, this much. So only I can zoom only up to this much. I can't zoom till end and see what are the components that the cell is made up of. So usually earlier only the normal microscopes, they could only zoom up to this end, okay, this much. But these electronical microscopes can zoom more, even more up to the even more they can zoom into the cell. So after invention of various microscopes, they got even more structural details regarding the cell. That cell is made up of this, that, and so on. Now come to the cell theory. So this is most important, okay. So there are two scientists. One is Schleiden and one is Schwann. Okay, they both formulated which they both given the cell theory. They both gave the cell theory. Okay, let's read it. Okay, Matthias Schleiden, in the year of 1838, he observed that all plants are composed of cells. So he told that all plants, no matter which plant, all plants, they are composed of the cell. So now he was also a botanist. Botanist means who only deals about plants and plant related study, okay. So he was a botanist who discovered that all the plants are made up of cells. So next comes to the next scientist. His name is Theodor Schwann. In the year of 1839, just 1 year after, he reported that cells had a thin layer called plasma membrane. He also found that plant cells have a cell wall. Okay, so and also first we'll discuss this point, next we'll go to this point. So here he made many discoveries. First he discovered that there was a thin membrane called as there is a thin membrane called as plasma membrane. He discovered that there was a thin membrane called as plasma membrane. He also found that plant cells have cell wall. So he first discovered plasma membrane. Next he told that plant cells have a cell wall. He also gave an hypothesis that animals and plants are composed of cells and product of cells. Okay. Not only this, he also told that plants, and even he was a what he says, zoologist. Zoologists are the persons who only deals about animals. He also given hypothesis that even animals are composed of cells or product of cells. Single cell it may be, or it may be product of cells. Next, afterwards, cell theory. Still the cell theory continues. Okay. Now after 1839, no scientist given cell theory. But after 1839, during 1855, there was a scientist called as Rudolf Virchow. He extended the cell theory and explained that. He also explained that cells divide and new cells are formed from the pre-existing cells. He said that cells, in order to form a new cell, it must form from the old cell, pre-existing cell. So for example, take an example. Wait, I'll show you one example. So imagine this is a cell. Okay, now this cell, after some time, it divides to form two cells. Okay, you have learnt about binary fission, right, during your 10th reproduction chapter. Okay, in the same way, this cell, it divides to form two identical daughter cells. I'll write daughter short form. Okay, two identical daughter cells. So now what the theory says that in order to form new cells, this is the new cell. Okay, in order to form the new cells, we require pre-existing cell. So this is the pre-existing cell. In simple words, he told that new cells are formed by the division of pre-existing cells. Okay, it is also called as omnicellular e cellula. In his language, it is called as this. Okay. Now, after all this research and all, two cell theories came. Okay, two cell theories came. One is all living organisms are composed of cells, product and cells. Okay, whether it may be single cell or product of cells. Next statement is all cells came from the pre-existing cells. These are the two important things to be noted about cell theory. Next, we'll discuss about the overview of cells. So all the cell contains cytoplasm. So you have studied in your ninth chapter about a cell, right? The chapter name was itself the structural fundamental unit of life, which is cell. So we all discovered, we know that cytoplasm is nothing but it is a semi fluid matrix where cellular activities and chemical reactions occur. This keeps the cell in living state. So I'll make it simple. Okay, so imagine that this is a cell. Okay, and imagine there are some things present in this. Okay, they are called as cell organelles. Okay, in cell organelles. Okay, so in the fluid there is a fluid that is covered in this cell. Okay, my drawing is not proper. Okay, let me draw like this. Okay, this, imagine this is a cell. Okay, and some organelles are present here. Okay, in between these organelles a fluid matrix is present. A fluid jelly like substance is present. This semi fluid means neither it is solid nor liquid, completely liquid. This semi solid matrix is called as is called as a cytoplasm. Okay, this fluid matrix is called as cytoplasm. Wait, I'll show you in diagram. So this is the cell diagram, and you can see there are various cell organelles floating in the cytoplasm. So this liquid jelly like substance is called as cytoplasm. Okay, and one thing to note is that almost all the cell activities and chemical reactions occur in the cytoplasm only. Okay, here you can see almost all the activities and chemical reactions occur. Okay, this keeps the cell in living state. Okay, if no life chemical reactions or no life process takes place, means the cell cannot be in the living state. Okay, next, ribosome. So, and over the cytoplasm and ribosomes, it is common thing. Okay, whether it may be a bacterial cell or whether it may be a human cell. Okay, we'll learn about this, but now I'm just giving an introduction. So ribosomes means they are more non-membrane bound organelles found in cytoplasm, chloroplast, microtubules, and on rhizobal reticulum. So ribosome, they are mainly their main function is to synthesize proteins. Okay, these proteins, they are very important because, as you know, I'll tell you later, but now keep in mind that this is a cell. Okay, you all learnt about the plasma membrane or the cell membrane, right? In order to make this, I'll write in the short form as PM. In order to make this plasma membrane, you require special kind of proteins, right? So almost all the things presently in the living world are made up of proteins and lipids. Lipids means fats. Okay, almost everything in our living thing, we all require fats and proteins. They are the most important biochemicals. Okay, so this plasma membrane, it is made up of proteins and fats. So this ribosome, it has a special thing that it can prepare these proteins. So where it can be found in cytoplasm freely, it may be roaming here and there, or it may be found in the chloroplast in plant cell, or in mitochondria, or in rough endoplasmic reticulum. So we'll discuss about it. Okay, so as you can see, these are the ribosomes. So as you can see, these are the ribosomes. They may be in the endoplasmic reticulum, or they may be floating in the cytoplasm itself, or they may be in this chloroplast. So now I'll zoom the structure, and also as you can see here, some dots like structure you can see. No, these are itself called as ribosomes. Okay, these are called as ribosomes. So these are called as ribosomes. Okay, now let's go into the next topic. So there are some facts, as you can see. Let's learn about these facts. Okay, so the smallest cell, that according, they have did some surveys and research and all. According to this, according to the survey and all, the smallest living cell is of microplast. It's of mycoplasmus. Mycoplasmus, it is a bacteria which has the smallest cell. Okay, and you know one thing, so it is a bacteria, right? It's a bacteria. And you learnt in your smaller classes that bacteria have a cell wall. You know this, right? Plant cells and bacterial cells, they have cell wall and extra covering, okay, other than cell membrane. But do you know that this mycoplasm, even though it is a bacteria, it lacks cell wall, okay? And also fun fact that this mycoplasma, it can prepare its own food, which means it has chlorophyll. Not chlorophyll, but it has a pigment which just like chlorophyll, which this the name of the chlorophyll is called as a chlorophyll. Okay, wait, I write it clearly. So it has a chlorophyll called as a chlorophyll. Okay, which helps in the preparation of its own food. Okay, so its diameter is about 0.3 micrometers in length. So micrometers means it's 10 to the power of minus 6, means 1 divided by 10 followed by 6 zeros. That much small it is. Imagine how it is. Then largest isolated single cell is of egg of ostrich. So this is the egg of the ostrich. It is the largest single cell. You will also know that even the egg that we eat, right? Not everyone will eat the egg. Usually it is also single cell, but usually the ostrich, which is the large, it has the largest cell. Okay, so as you can see, this is the mycoplasma. This is the ostrich egg. Next, longest cell is our in our nerve cell. So nerve cell, it is the longest cell. So in your lower classes, you draw the structure of the nerve cell, right? Like this, it will be there. It is a branch cell, and like this body it has, right? Like this you will draw, right? So it is the longest cell. In this figure also you can see. Next, a size of bacteria. So the size of bacteria, it may be about 3 to 5 nanometers. Okay. Next, human cell RBCs, it has a diameter about 7.0 to 8.0 diameter. So fun fact about RBCs is when they come to the matured stage, okay, when they become big and they when come to the matured stage, they do not have nucleus. You heard it right. When they come to the maturing stage, okay, they lack nucleus. But when they are small, they have. But when they become big, when they acquire a specific function, or when they become mature, they lack nucleus. Okay, remember. So you can see there are RBCs. Okay. Next, based on the function, shape of cells may be disc-like shape, polygonal, columnar, cuboid, thread-like, or irregular. Irregular, amoeba, as you remember. So based on the type of function they do, what type of function they acquire, in what type of organism they are found, their size not their shape may be different. For example, as you can see, nerve cells, they are long. Okay, why they are long? Because they need to transfer message, so they are long. Okay, so if they are small means they can't easily transfer the message. Okay, so hence they are long. Okay, and you can see that muscle cells, they are small in size and they are stretchable, flexible, because we need to move our arms and limbs all day. Okay, as you can see, these are our gland cells. Okay, and our red blood cells, they are tiny and they are round, so that they can easily flow through the veins and all. Okay, these are different type of cells. They are bone cells. Bone cells, they need to be very strong, right? And this is the reproductive cells. So reproductive cells, they must be depending on whether it is sperm or ovum. Okay, it's, for example, if it is a sperm, it must have a long tail, okay, which helps in the motility. Okay, motility. And okay, if it is a ovum means it must be large in size, and it needs to have like fimbria not, it needs to have pillar like structures, fimbria like structures. So depending upon the ovum size, it needs to have a fimbriae ciliary like structure which helps in the movement of it, and it must also be large so that it can force food. Okay, for the growing baby, this much thing. Okay, next week. So depending upon the type, whether it has some certain organelles or not, it is divided into two types. Okay, one is prokaryotic cell, another one is eukaryotic cell. Okay, let's go. So now first we're going to discuss about the prokaryotic cells. So all the bacteria, all the small substance, tiny substance, microscopic substance comes under the prokaryotic cell character. So first we'll discuss about the prokaryotics. Okay, first thing, they have no membrane bound nucleus and organelle. So they do not have the nucleus. Nucleus is the control system, right? They don't have that also, and they don't have organelles. No cell bound, no membrane bound organelle. So what is that? So usually all the cell organelles. Okay, in our, like for example, take an just compare. Okay, compare a cell to a living organism. Okay, so as we human beings, we have different type of organs like stomach, heart, and many organs, right? So now stomach is an organ, heart is an organ, brain, and many more. Okay, so these special kind of sensitive organs, they are protected by some of the skeleton systems, like for example heart, it is protected by the ribs and all, and our brain is protected by the skull. Okay, in this way, and our total body is protected by the skin. In this way, our all organ systems, they all are covered, or they are all protected by some or some other thing. In the same way, who will protect the cell, right? So in the same way, cell also have a membrane. Okay, called as the plasma membrane, which protects it. Not only the cell, even the organelles present in the cell like nucleus, what you say, Golgi apparatus, and many more there are there. They all also have their own membranes. Okay, so this they don't have. Prokaryotic cells don't have. They include what type of organism we find here: bacteria, blue green algae, which can perform photosynthesis, mycoplasma, it is also called as pplo, pleuropneumonium like organism. So this pleuropneumonium like organism causes pneumonia. Okay, sorry. They are generally small and multiply more rapidly than the eukaryotic cells. So being small, okay, they usually practice a sexual mode of reproduction, and they are comparatively in size, they are small, and they can also multiply, or they can reproduce fast. They may vary in shape and size. Okay, as you can see, bacteria, all these are bacteria. Okay, this is cyanobacteria, which can perform photosynthesis, and this is mycoplasma, pplo, pleuropneumonia like organism. Next, bacteria have four basic shapes. Okay, in bacteria also we have different like shapes. Okay, some may be rod like shapes. Okay, rod like shape. Okay, that is spindle in shapes, or round space, spherical in shape, and many more. Okay, let's, depending upon the shape, we have mainly four basic shapes. First one is bacillus. Okay, you have you heard lactobacillus? Okay, that only. So it will be usually what you say, rod like shape. Next is cox means spherical like shape, like Basicoccus. Have you heard this type of bacteria name? Yes, they are in spherical shape. Next in vibro, it is a different term. It will be in comma like shape, like this. Sorry, not like this, like this, comma like shape. Wait, like this, comma like shape it will be. Okay, have you seen worms? They will be like this, and in the same way these vibrobacteria will also be like that. Now last one is Spirillum will be spherical in shape like this, like a snake, spindle, spherical. Now I'll show you. So this is the basilar shape, rod shape, like this is the coccus, spherical in shape, and this is the vibro, comma like shape, and this is the spindle, spirillum, spherical in shape. So depending upon them sizes, these have the bacteria. So I'll show you. So this is the rod like shape, what do you say, coccus or spherical like shape. This is called as spindle like shape. This is the vibro comma like shape, and this is the spherical, spirillum shapes, not spherical, spindle like shape. Okay, like this. Now the next topic is cell organelles that are present in prokaryotic bacteria. So these, even though it is small, it has these many things. Wow, it's nice, right? So first they have a cell envelope, mesosomes and chromophores, nucleoid, flagella, file and fimbriae, ribosomes, inclusion bodies. This many new terms. Now let's read one by one. Okay. So as you can see, first we'll go one by one. Okay. Let's start. So this is the whole structure of the cell of the prokaryotics. Okay. Now let's read. So now let's go one by one. So now we learn about cell envelope. So what is cell envelope? Okay. Now, for example, if you go to any marriages or any functions, you will give an envelope, right? Like this. In this, you will put some money as a token of gift. Okay. So this is an envelope. Envelope means it's something, a covering which covers some important things. Okay. In the same way, we also have some envelope that covers the whole cell. Okay. So usually this envelope, it is called as cell envelope. It is mainly made up of three layers. One layer, second layer, and the third layer. So mainly three layers. So the first layer, I'm going from down to up. Okay, the first layer which is closest, wait, I'll mark it. The first, sorry, not this. The first layer which is closest to the cell, okay, is called as the plasma membrane. Even in the eukaryotic cells, you have this plasma membrane. It is common. Okay. And the next thing you encounter after the plasma membrane is the cell wall. So this cell wall is not found in the animals. Okay, it is found in only bacteria and the plant cell. Okay, this is the cell wall, as you can see labeled. And the third, you know about these things, right? Plasma membrane and cell wall. But the last thing is, after the cell wall, you encounter the last thing, which is called as glycocalyx. So this is a new term, glycocalyx. So it is the last layer. So in this way, we have three layers. Okay. Let's look into once again. Plasma membrane. Plasma. It is the, wait, I'll show you. Okay. First is the plasma membrane, second layer is the cell wall, and third layer is the glycocalyx. Okay. Now let's look into the detail, more detail. Okay. So it is chemically composed of protective layer. So it is chemically complex and protective layer. Complex means it has various membranes. So it is very complex and it is made up of chemicals, mainly proteins, and it is a protective layer. It protects the cell. Okay. It is made up of three layers, as we learned. Glycox, if we come from up to down. Glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma membrane. Okay. So this is the part 1. So the part 2 is in the next video. Please visit.